I want to start by saying something that might sound strange, maybe even wrong to some people. Most of us grow up believing that wealth means having more money, more property, more cars, more things. We spend our whole lives buying, collecting, building, upgrading. And somewhere along the way, we start to believe that owning more is the same thing as being secure. But here's the truth most people never stop to think about. As you get closer to retirement, that same mindset can actually work against you, because retirement is not about accumulation anymore. It's about freedom. And freedom doesn't come from owning a lot of stuff. Very often it comes from letting go. I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm 94 years old now, and I've watched a lot of people go into retirement. Some of them were happy, relaxed, and confident. Others were constantly worried, stressed about money, stressed about maintenance, stressed about responsibilities they couldn't escape. And the difference between those two groups wasn't intelligence, and it wasn't even income. It was simplicity. The people who retired well weren't weighed down by things. They weren't surrounded by assets that demanded constant attention, repairs, and money. They had simplified their lives. They had learned how to travel light. See, during your working years, it makes sense to build. You're earning, you're raising a family. You need space, you need convenience, you need structure. But retirement is a different phase of life. Income usually drops. Energy changes. Priorities change. And trying to maintain a lifestyle designed for peak earning years can quietly drain you. That's why today I want to talk about 5 things you should seriously consider selling before you retire. Not because you must, not because they're bad, but because holding on to them might be costing you far more than you realize. These are things people think are assets, but in retirement, they often behave like liabilities. Let's start with the most emotional one of all. Your house. Now, don't turn this off just yet. Just hear me out. I know your house is special. It's where your kids grew up. It's full of memories. It feels like safety. It feels like home. I understand that. I really do. But here's what most people don't stop to calculate. That big family home you needed when your kids were living with you, you probably don't need anymore. The bedrooms are empty. The space goes unused, and yet the costs keep coming. Property taxes, insurance, utilities, repairs, maintenance. A large house doesn't care that your kids moved out. It keeps charging you every single year. A big house can easily cost you $20,000, $30,000, even $50,000 a year just to maintain. And for what? So you can heat rooms no one sleeps in? So you can mow a lawn you don't enjoy anymore? Here's the key point. When you retire, your income usually goes down. That means your expenses need to come down too. And for most people, their house is their single biggest expense. Now, I'm not saying you should move into a tiny place that makes you unhappy. That's not the goal. The goal is downsizing, not suffering. Downsizing can unlock a huge amount of cash and reduce stress at the same time. Let's say your house is worth $500,000. You sell it and buy a comfortable, smaller home or condo for $300,000. That's $200,000 freed up. Invested at a modest 4% withdrawal rate, that's $8,000 a year in extra income. On top of that, your ongoing housing costs drop. Lower taxes, lower utilities, less maintenance. Maybe you save another $10,000 or $15,000 a year. All of a sudden, downsizing isn't about losing something. It's about gaining financial breathing room. It can easily improve your retirement by $20,000 to $25,000 per year. That's the difference between worrying about money and sleeping peacefully at night, people often say. But I need space for the grandkids. Let me ask you this. They visit a few times a year, right? A few weeks total. Is it really worth spending tens of thousands of dollars every year just to maintain space for occasional visits? Or would it make more sense to downsize and use some of that saved money to rent a bigger place when everyone comes, or help pay for travel? When you actually do the math, emotion aside, it usually doesn't make sense to keep the big house. I'm not saying everyone should sell. If you love your home and can comfortably afford it, that's fine. But if money feels tight, if retirement income worries you even a little, selling or downsizing your house should be one of the first things you seriously think about. Retirement forces. One important question: is this thing helping my future, or am I holding on to it because of my past? And once you answer that honestly, the right decision often becomes very clear. Now let's move to the second thing you should seriously think about selling before you retire. And for most people, this one is much easier than selling a house. Your extra cars. Let me ask you a simple question. How many cars do you really need in retirement? One, maybe two, if you're a couple and both of you drive regularly. But I see a lot of retirees with 3, 4, sometimes even 5 vehicles. A sedan for daily driving, an SUV for long trips, a sports car for fun, a truck just in case. And every single one of those cars is quietly costing you money. Even if a car is fully paid off, it is never free. You're paying insurance, you're paying registration, you're paying for maintenance, tires, batteries, servicing, and on top of that, cars are depreciating assets. They lose value every year, whether you drive them or not. Here's what changes in retirement. You're not commuting every day anymore. You're not rushing out early in the morning or driving long distances 5 days a week. Most retirees actually drive far less than they think they will, and yet they keep the same number of vehicles out of habit. So here's a simple rule. Keep one reliable car, maybe two if both of you really need them. Sell the rest. That money you free up could easily be $20,000, $30,000, even $50,000, depending on what you're selling. Invest that money. Use the savings from insurance and maintenance as extra retirement income. These small decisions compound over time. People sometimes ask me, Warren, why don't you own a collection of luxury cars? You can afford it. And my answer is always the same. A car's job is to get you from point A to point B safely and reliably. Everything beyond that is ego. And ego is expensive. In retirement, you can't afford to waste money on ego. You want peace of mind, not parking problems. Now let's talk about the third thing you should consider selling. And this one is very emotional for a lot of people. Your vacation home, the lake house, the beach condo, the mountain cabin. It sounds perfect, doesn't it? A place to escape, to relax, to make memories. During your working years, maybe it made sense. But retirement changes the math. Be honest with yourself. How often do you really use that vacation home? Most people use it 4 to 6 weeks a year, sometimes even less. And the rest of the year, it sits empty. But the bills never stop. Property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, HOA fees, repairs. A vacation home can easily cost $10,000 to $20,000 a year just to keep, sometimes more. Let's do some simple math. If you use the place 6 weeks a year, that's about 42 days. If it costs you $15,000 a year to maintain, you're paying over $350 per day to use it. And that's not even counting the opportunity, cost of the money tied up in the property. Now, here's the part most people overlook. That vacation home is probably worth a lot of money, money that's locked up and not working for you, money that could be generating income every single year. Let's say your vacation home is worth $300,000. If you sell it and invest that money at a conservative 4%, that's $12,000 a year in income. That's more than enough to rent a beautiful vacation home or stay in nice hotels for several weeks a year anywhere you want. And the best part? No maintenance, no taxes, no stress, no obligation to go to the same place every year just because you own it. When you rent, you gain flexibility. One year you go to the beach, the next year the mountains, the year after that maybe another country. You're not stuck repeating the same vacation out of habit. I understand the emotional attachment. I really do. But in retirement, cash flow is king. And for many people, a vacation home quietly eats cash flow instead of supporting it. So ask yourself this. Does this property give me freedom or does it limit my choices? Because retirement is supposed to be about options, not obligations. Selling extra cars and vacation homes isn't about giving up enjoyment. It's about buying flexibility, simplicity, and peace of mind. And those things are far more valuable in retirement than owning things you only use once in a while. Now, I want to talk about something a little different, something people don't usually think about as stuff, but it can be just as dangerous in retirement if you're not careful. Your investments, specifically individual stocks that you're holding on to for emotional reasons. Now, don't misunderstand me. I love stocks. I've spent my life investing in businesses. Stocks are what built my wealth. But there's a big difference between smart investing and emotional attachment. And in retirement, emotional investing can be very expensive. I've seen this happen again and again. Someone inherits a stock from their parents, and they keep it because it was dad's stock, or someone worked at a company for 30 years, received stock options or shares, and they hold on to that stock out of loyalty. They feel connected to it. They feel like selling it would somehow be wrong. But here's the hard truth. The stock market doesn't care about your feelings. Loyalty does not reduce risk. Sentiment does not protect your retirement. When you're younger and still earning, you can afford to take risks. You have time to recover. You have income coming in. But retirement is different. You don't have decades to wait for a bad decision to fix itself. Your portfolio needs to work for you, not keep you awake at night. One of the biggest risks I see in retirement portfolios is concentration. Too much money in one single stock. I've met people who had 30%, 40%, sometimes even 60% of their net worth tied up in one company. That is not investing. That is gambling. What happens if that company runs into trouble? What if management makes bad decisions? What if the industry changes or technology disrupts the business? It doesn't matter how strong the company once was. Things change. I've watched this happen in real life. People who worked at companies like Enron, WorldCom, Lehman Brothers. These were respected companies. People trusted them. Employees felt safe holding their stock. And when those companies collapsed, their employees lost not only their jobs, but their retirement savings too. Oh, here's a simple guideline as you approach retirement. If any single stock makes up more than 5% to 10% of your total portfolio, you should seriously consider reducing that position. Not because the company is bad, but because your retirement security should never depend on one business. Bar. Diversification is not exciting. It's not something people brag about at dinner parties, but it works. Broad index funds, diversified portfolios, steady income producing investments. These are the tools that protect you when things go wrong. Now, I know what you're thinking, but if I sell, I'll have to pay capital gains taxes. Yes, you might, and that's okay. Paying taxes on gains means you made money. It means the investment was successful. Don't let the fear of taxes keep you stuck in a risky position. I've seen people refuse to sell because they didn't want to pay taxes, only to watch the stock fall later and lose far more than the tax bill would have been. That's being penny wise and pound foolish. In retirement, the goal is not to maximize returns at any cost. The goal is to protect what you've built and generate reliable income. Safety matters more than excitement. Now let's talk about the fifth thing you should consider selling before retirement. And for some people, this is the hardest of all. Your business. If you own a business, it's probably more than just a source of income. It's your identity. It's something you built with your own hands. And because of that, many business owners hold on far too long. They tell themselves they'll slow down soon. They'll step back next year. But next year becomes 5 years, and 5 years becomes 10. Meanwhile, they're tired, they're stressed, and the business still demands everything from them. Here's the reality. Running a business is not a passive activity. It's constant decision-making, constant responsibility, constant pressure. And retirement should be about reducing pressure, not extending it. Your business has real value. In many cases, it's your biggest asset. But if you wait until health issues or burnout force you to step away, you may not get a good price. Buyers pay the most. When a business is strong and the owner is still actively involved, that's why planning is so important. If retirement is on the horizon, start thinking now. Get your business valued. Explore your options. Consider selling, or at least setting up a succession plan where someone else runs the business and you receive income over time. Selling your business doesn't mean you failed. It means you succeeded. It means you turned years of hard work into financial security and freedom. In retirement, your goal is not to prove how much you can handle. Your goal is to protect your time, your health, and your peace of mind. And sometimes the smartest move you can make is knowing when to let go. Now let's pull this all together, because here's the thing about the 5 things we've been talking about. Your house, extra cars, vacation homes, concentrated stock positions, and even your business. On the surface, these all seem like assets. They look valuable. You think, I own this, so I must be wealthy. But the reality is very different, especially in retirement. All of these things tie up capital. They create expenses. They demand attention. They require your time, your energy, and sometimes even your emotions. And in retirement, the opposite is what you really want. You want liquid assets. You want simplicity. You want cash flow. You want freedom. Let me give you an example from my own experience. I know a couple in their early 60s. On paper, they were wealthy. Their home was worth $600,000. They had 3 cars, a vacation condo, and the husband ran a small business. If you added it all up, their net worth was over $2 million. On paper, that sounds amazing, right? But here's the problem. They couldn't retire. Not really. They were stressed. Their money was tied up in things that cost them tens of thousands of dollars a year just to maintain. The wealth was trapped. So what did we do? I told them to simplify. They sold the big hoe and bought a comfortable condo for $300,000, freeing up $300,000. They sold 2 of their cars, freeing another $50,000. They sold the vacation condo for $250,000, and the husband sold his business for $600,000. Suddenly, they had over $1.2 million in liquid investable assets, money they could actually put to work. They invested that money at a 4% withdrawal rate. That created nearly $50,000 a year in income. On top of that, their ongoing expenses dropped by about $30,000 a year because they no longer had to maintain multiple properties and vehicles. In one move, their financial situation improved by roughly $80,000 a year. And the best part, they retired comfortably, happily, and without stress. This is the real lesson. Selling is not giving up. Selling is converting things that drain you into resources that empower you. It's turning the weight of stuff into freedom, and freedom is priceless in retirement. Now, I know some of you are thinking about taxes, but Warren, if I sell, I'll have to pay capital gains. And yes, you might, but that's not a bad thing. Paying taxes on gains means you made money. It means the asset appreciated. And yes, it might be 15% or 20% of the gain, depending on the situation. But here's the key. If paying taxes frees up $50,000, $80,000, or even $100,000 a year in income and reduces stress, isn't that worth it? Absolutely. One of the biggest mistakes people make is letting the tax tail wag the investment dog. They hold on to assets they should sell just to avoid paying taxes. Meanwhile, those assets continue to drain money, require attention, or stay trapped in a form that doesn't generate income. And when you finally sell, it's often too late and the value has dropped. Don't let that happen. Timing is also critical. You don't want to wait until retirement to start selling. Selling takes time. Houses take months to sell. Businesses can take a year or more. And if you wait until you absolutely need the money, you might have to accept a lower price. Start planning 1 or 2 years in advance. Think about what you can sell when and how to do it strategically. And here's another thing. Don't just sell and spend. That's a mistake people make too. The goal isn't to convert your stuff into a vacation or a new car. The goal is to convert it into income-producing investments, cash flow, and security. Stocks, bonds, index funds, dividend-paying investments. Put that money to work so it keeps generating income for the rest of your life. That's how selling stuff transforms into freedom. Freedom isn't just financial, it's emotional. When you don't have to worry about property taxes, maintenance, repairs, or complicated investments, you gain time. Time to travel, time to spend with family, time to focus on your health, time to pursue hobbies or just relax. That's what retirement is really about, not owning the most, not having the biggest house or the nicest CE collection, but having the most control over your time and choices. So when you look at your life and the things you've accumulated, ask yourself one simple question. Does this help me or does it hold me back? If it's holding you back, it might be time to sell. Every house, car, vacation property, or concentrated investment you sell is another step toward lightening your load, simplifying your life, and creating real freedom. The people who retire happiest aren't weighed down by things. They are light, they are flexible, they are free. And that freedom, the ability to live the way you want without stress, is the real wealth that comes from selling wisely. Now, let's finish this by talking about the bigger picture, what retirement is really about, and why letting go of stuff can be the smartest decision you ever make. Because here's the truth. The best things in retirement aren't things at all. They're not the house, the cars, or even the vacation home. The best things are